Welcome back to Midlife by Human Design. I'm your host, Lisai, and I help midlife women learn how to use your human design so you can shed the shoulds and be who you came here to be. Today's episode is short and sweet, my midlife mavens, around the reflections of 2025 as we think about moving into 2026. So I've got some very pointed questions for you to use to contemplate, how did this year actually go for you? What do you want to pivot around next year, and what can you give yourself all kinds of gratitude about when it comes to the way that you approached and lived this last year of your life? So without further ado, let's get into it. Hello, beauties. Welcome back to Midlife by Human Design. Today's episode is a short one that's going to help you close out 2025 and really reflect on it in a way that assesses your alignment with your human design and also just with how you actually want your life to unfold. So I'm going to simply share with you a number of reflective questions. And these questions I have pulled directly from the Planning by Human Design Planner. So if you want to go even deeper than what I'm doing in today's episode, you can grab the planner in the link in the show notes. And I hope that you have had a beautiful holiday season so far. And also just want to send out love and a warm hug to you if you are navigating this holiday season without a loved one or going through other hardships, because as joyful as this season can be, I also recognize that it can be very tricky as well. So if you are listening to this on a drive or a dog walk or something, then feel free by all means to hit pause after each question and contemplate the questions that I'm providing, or feel free to grab a journal and reflect and then write what these journal questions are asking you. Write whatever comes up. The only thing I want to encourage you to do when it comes to answering these questions is not to edit yourself. Be as truthful, as honest as possible. You can always burn these pages if you don't want any other eyes to see them. But being as honest as you can with yourself, I think, keeps you in integrity. And kind of on the heels of that, I also want you to remember that we can be our own worst critics. So try to keep the balance between this is where I want to go, this is how I want to get better, and also understanding and giving yourself gratitude for all of the wonderful things that unfolded this year. So here we go. The first question I have for you is, when did you feel the most energized this year? And what was happening in your body when you knew that you were on the right path? Whatever that path may have been, what was actually happening in your body? And if this is something that you feel like you aren't quite sure or you can't quite remember, then this would be a good question for you to kind of put a pin in. And just think about, okay, the next time something is going really well for me, what is happening in my body? And how am I reacting or responding to that? Okay, number 2, where did you stretch your capacity too thin? And was it worth it? And don't tell me that you didn't do that. I would be shocked and surprised, anybody listening to this podcast, if you did not spread yourself too thin at some point during the year. Just ask yourself, was it worth it? Would I do it again? How might I dial it back a little bit next time? All right, question number 3. What surprised you about who you are becoming? What surprised you about who you're becoming? Maybe those are some choices that you made. Maybe there are some who knows, some different ways that life has been unfolding that is surprising you. Okay, let's talk about relationships for number 4. Which relationships nourished your energy and which ones drained your energy? Question number 5, back to the body. How did your body speak to you in 2025? And did you listen? Maybe you didn't know exactly what it was saying, but how did it speak to you? Question number 6. When did you allow pleasure without feeling like you earned it or had to do something to earn it? When did you just allow pleasure? And you can also replace this question or the word pleasure with rest. When did you rest without feeling like you had to earn it? Question number 6. What feels unfinished as we close out 2025? What feels unfinished that you're actually ready to let go of, even though it's not finished? What are you ready to just send it off into 2025 and start fresh in 2026 without guilt? Question number 8. I always like to look back at the one word that I chose for myself for the year and see, did it actually fit? And if not, why not? And how might I, if I'm deciding to set a word of intention for 2026, then what does that look like? And how does my choice from this past year affect what I'm choosing for next year? And then question number 9, as we end out this 9-year, what wisdom from 2025 do you want to carry into 2026? And then for this next section, I have some human design specific questions to ask yourself in terms of how 2025 unfolded for you. The first one is, what did you learn about who you truly are versus how others perceive you? And I would maybe put an asterisk on this one for anybody who has a 2-line or a 5-line in your profile, because you are dealing with projections. So what did you learn about who you're becoming and who you are versus how other people perceive you? And where's the dissonance? And where do you feel like potentially you could be a little more clear? Where might there be a call for boundaries? These are all sort of related to this question. Okay, question number 2 is, did you feel like you were living in the high expression of your design more of the time than you were living in the low expression of your design? And here's where I want to remind you what I said at the beginning of the pod about judgment and giving yourself a break. And remember, if you felt like you lived in the low expression a lot of the time, then just give yourself a break, right? And it's just information. So understanding, okay, how can I shift this? And when I say high expression of your design versus low expression, remember that everything on human design is on a spectrum. So, for example, if you have an open head or an undefined head, and you felt like you were constantly trying to figure things out or figure out the answer or look for the answer and always needing to know the answer to things versus just being open and willing for ideas to come to you and letting yourself be a receiver of things versus having to push forward. You know, if you're doing more of the first thing, then you're living more in the low expression versus the high expression is that I'm just going to receive. I'm going to be here for ideas. And if they land, if they feel like my authority is giving me a yes on them, then I will take action versus feeling like, you know, you've got to figure it out. That's one example of the high expression versus low expression. And you can do this for every element of your human design. And if you're new to human design, of course, go to the Get Your Chart at LoriLisai.com and look at the different pieces of your design. Even your type has a high expression and a low expression. If you're a generator, for example, how much time did you spend feeling frustrated versus satisfied? So maybe just pick a couple of the different elements and think about, where were you in the high expression versus the low expression? All right, question number 3. How might you align your life choices with who you came here to be? So how might you start really making choices around who you came here to be versus conditioning, versus feeling like you have to, or feeling like you're performing for someone else or making a decision for someone else? How might you align your decisions with who you actually came here to be? Okay, this session, this pod is short and sweet on purpose. This is a very busy time of the year, but it's also super important for you to reflect on 2025 before you go balls to the wall into 2026. And if you want to start 2026 feeling like you're on top of it, instead of feeling like you have to catch up, then get the Planning by Human Design Planner now, so that you have time this week to really reflect and think about this past year and how you want to use that to move forward into 2026. So the Planning by Human Design Planner is a printable PDF. It's over 200 pages. I send it to you in chunks by 90 days, and you print out each quarter. And then it's got tons of intention setting in it and lots of reflection, as well as gate transits, which you will get. Not only you will see them in the planner itself, but you'll also have a private podcast that will review the gate transit weather, so you have an idea of, okay, during these 6 days, for example, gate 5 is going to be defined. And so I have gate 15 in my chart, which means I'm going to have that full channel for those 6 days. So maybe what should I consider during that time frame? That's just an example of how the energetic weather shows you what energy you're kind of borrowing in the moment. And so I'm going to review all of that on a monthly basis and show you what is the weather going to look like, so you can prepare for that and have that be part of your planning process as well. So as I close out this pod, I encourage you to enjoy the final days of 2025 and wishing you so many blessings to start a beautiful 2026 and actually live it by your human design. Hey, listeners, are you on the Wild Woman Wisdom email list yet? If not, the link is in the show notes, and this is not something you want to sleep on. The Wild Woman Wisdom email is packed full of useful tips and tricks based on your human design, and it's the only place that you can book a reading with me. I no longer have readings on my website, and human design readings are designed to help you deeply understand your chart and how it can support you in creating the life you want to live. Whatever you're struggling with, human design has the keys to it, and I love sitting with clients in readings, but I only offer it to my email list and only occasionally throughout the year. I'm telling you this now because I will be opening up some spots for readings as we transition into the new year, because it's super, super helpful for getting a year started in a way that you actually want it to begin and want it to unfold. So, as always, I am wishing you the strength to let go of what no longer serves you, joy to fill your days, and the clarity to be who you came here to be.